And I've learned a lot from what you've taught, and I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate the example that you are to the guys.
Thank you, Coach. Super cool group to be a part of tonight. And like you said, I mean, it's right on point. The whole idea of transformation over transaction. It's kind of going to be a theme tonight, for sure. So I just want to thank you. I'm humbled to be here. I'm excited. Love Hawaii. Was just on the Big Island last month and miss it. So yeah, I'll have to get down there for a camp at some time, Coach. But well, I'll dive right in. I got a lot here. If you guys see anything that you want to ask questions about, whatever, just put it on the chat or whatever, and I'll keep monitoring that as we go along. Can I share my screen? Let's see here. Share. Boom. And let me make sure it goes full screen. All right. Everybody see that? We good?
I can see it.
All right, sweet. Well, I just want to start tonight by really talking about the main point of this technology that we're getting into, and that is that coaches are teachers. And Coach, you hit on it when you said, and you talked about the transformation we're looking for. This app and this technology and the stuff we're going to talk about tonight really is about transforming kids. How can we help kids? And that's ultimately the job of a teacher. And so let's get right into it with a reference to the greatest educational movie ever created, Top Gun. And when you think about education, there's a few reasons why I get into it. We'll use Top Gun through this theme here, but when we're talking about this technology, we have to know why we're using it. We have to get to the why. And I want to break down some of the mechanics of education in the classroom that actually works and is proven to help kids, and go through it using Top Gun. So first of all, the hook. The United States Navy saw a tremendous increase in their recruitment levels when that movie came out. Not all of them became F-14 fighter pilots. In fact, the great majority of them did not, but they were hooked. And as a young child, I was hooked. I was fascinated by aviation, specifically like fighter jets. It was just so cool to me, right? So the hook generally comes from somewhere flashy, somewhere cool. Again, most of the guys that saw the movie and went and joined the Navy were probably cleaning a deck, a year or two later, as they went on through their journey. But as we're teaching, you have to use something fun. I'm using Top Gun tonight. And then as you introduce something new coming out in 1 month, I'm excited. It might be terrible, it might be amazing. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me because the hook has already got me. And now you're giving me new information. And the most important thing about education, if you get one thing out of this, is that education attaches to prior meaning. You have to have some type of meaning, otherwise you won't learn it. Imagine, if I were to sit inside of a fighter pilot's cockpit, I don't even know how to turn the thing on. Yet pilots at different levels might sit in that same cockpit. They might be able to turn it on, but now they're ready for the next step. That's where we're at with this tool that we're going to be talking about today. One of the big things is that this technology that we have access to has potential to have a huge scope. The amount of possibility now available to us is unlimited. So what you see here is a series of different dogfighting maneuvers. And I'm a big fan of, there's this podcast called the Jocko Podcast. And he has a guy on there, one of his business partners named Dave Burke. Dave Burke was a Top Gun fighter pilot. And he'll talk about flying their training missions and getting stuff right. And they talk about how when you first get there, it is like drinking through the fire hose. But when you go up and you take off, there is a thing that you have to get done. And one thing that I think we as coaches can really learn from educators, really good educators, whether they're teaching how to fly fighter jets or whether they're teaching world history, and that is, what is your scope of this new material? Don't overload our athletes. And so this app we're going to talk about, it's an amazing app, but man, it could certainly overload you. And I want to be very careful of overloading you tonight. My goal is to teach. I don't want to just present. We're going to get to that here in a second. Once that new material is installed, hey, we're going to go do this mission. We're going to go do this thing. You tell them exactly how it's going to get done. You round them up. This is a briefing room inside a aircraft carrier. Obviously, you have the briefing scenes with Maverick and Iceman and all that. But they're told what they're going to do. They're told this is the job we have to do. And that is a crucial element of what we're about to dive into tonight. And here is the difference between every Zoom presentation we've been on and we've listened to, and every classroom authentic teacher engagement that we've had. And that is teachers assess and adjust. I think about Viper. He was a true educator for Maverick. He assessed Maverick's weaknesses and things that Maverick himself had to overcome. And Viper adjusted his teaching style. He adjusted how he taught Maverick was not how he would teach Iceman. Teachers adjust so that the student can be transformed. Teachers don't adjust so that their paycheck can get bigger. So totally in alignment with what you said earlier, Coach. I love it. I just want to hit on that. That's really important to me. And then what you do is you turn the students loose, and then they are in the cockpit flying their, in this case, F-18 from the upcoming movie. But they're off flying on their own. They're leading others, and they have an ability to go explore and grow themselves. That's going to be really important as we talk about this. So my goal is this. There's going to be a quiz at the end of this thing. And I want you guys to take notes because I want to assess and adjust what worked for you and what didn't. And whoever gets the best score, I'll make sure we get some Alaskan swag of some sort sent your way. So be tuned in for that, because I don't want to just present. I authentically care about this group. I think what Mark's doing in Hawaii is God's work. And I want to make sure that we all get something out of this. Don't leave here without having something that you can tangibly use tomorrow. That's the goal. So let's dive right into it. Talking about the Go Army Edge app. What is it? And other technologies, but today's specific focus is going to be on the Go Army Edge app. They've done some really, really cool things in the last really few months that have really kicked the door down for this being one of the most revolutionary teaching tools for the sport of football. And I think other sports and other activities are going to follow. I'm excited. So what is Go Army? It's a teaching tool. And teaching's been done for thousands of years. Here you have a hammer and a chisel. And now we have all sorts of power tools and machinery that can do the job that a disciplined stone carver could do thousands of years ago. And while that's an ancient tool, ancient tools and practices do have wisdom. Let's not discount what has worked in the past. This presentation is not to tell you this is the only thing or the most important thing. It's just it's innovation, it's invention. I think it is one of the more important tools that have come out in the last 20 years. And it can give you a competitive advantage for a time. So while we're looking to help kids, as we all participate in a competitive sport, I love competition, right? Not necessarily because to beat somebody, although you always want to win. That's a goal, but it's because of that self-improvement. And so if competition has taught me how to use these tools that much better, and I can translate these tools to help a kid in their life, then it's a win-win. But it's a window of time, and it can give you sometimes innovation and invention don't work quite the way you want it to. We'll get into that. So why would some people, this technology is free. It's been out there and it's going to be out there for a while. Why would some people not use this amazing tool? Well, awareness. Some of you probably know what Go Army is. You've seen it on Twitter. That's definitely a possibility. Affordability of a tool. If you can't afford the tool, you're not going to be able to use it. I recently redid our bathroom. We got a house, and I've become Mr. Handyman. YouTube has allowed me to become Mr. Handyman a little bit. Probably just enough to be dangerous. No enough to be dangerous, I think is what the expression is. Anyway, awareness of tools that I never knew existed, and then the affordability of some of them. That's important. Well, awareness, you're finding out tonight what Go Army is. Affordability, it's free. We'll get into that. And this is going to be what we're going to talk mostly about tonight. The biggest barrier to successful use of this tool is going to be how you use it and the logistics that play out. Because I see the biggest barrier to entry on this thing is it can look like you're getting 4 dog fights thrown at you all at the same time. And I want to make sure we break it down piece by piece so you can leave here knowing how to use this. And then you fly on your own. Mastery. Mastery is not going to happen tonight. Mastery is you putting in, I think Malcolm Gladwell had the 10,000 hour rule he talked about of mastery. That's kind of what we're looking to eventually do with this, but you don't need 10,000 hours to use this tool in an incredibly powerful and informative way. I'm going to say there's going to be about a 2 to 3 year window of advantage for those on this app now. I think everybody's going to be using this, and I think it's going to be synonymous with things like Huddle. I think it's going to be like PowerPoint, Google Apps. We'll get into that. But let's actually, okay, I've kind of prepped us. What is this app? What does the Go Army app do? Well, first of all, it's a traditional playbook. So you can draw traditional plays like you would in Huddle, in Playmaker Pro, whatever you're using. And the cool thing is that in the app, you can print them. You have handouts right there you can print off, take them to the field, or you can have it loaded up into your iPad and have animated plays so students can see when the play develops and what's supposed to be happening at timeline across a play. Our kids we're going to talk a lot about their ability to spatially recognize things, but temporally, they're still learning how to recognize how things should be in a certain place at a certain time. And that timing is something that a sheet can't necessarily show with as much power as a moving document. It also helps students that process 3D things all the time. They play Fortnite, they play Call of Duty, they play Madden, they process that world. We grew up on napkins at restaurants after the game. Our kids don't use napkins to draw up plays. They really don't even have a lot of meaning associated with the whiteboard. They don't really use it and process that information. What they're really good at is processing 3-dimensional objects. So we'll get into how you can process and use this tool to help them assign meaning. And lastly, it's fun. And the exploration in the app is fun. This is something that's exciting and it's mobile. They take it home with them so they can explore. They can go take off like Maverick and fly. So altogether, what is this thing? It is one of the coolest tools for playbook creation, install of app, or install of program. Here we are recruiting some middle schoolers. That middle schooler right there on the far right picture, he's about to throw white north scat right. And he's never played quarterback before, but he's about to see it through the QB's eyes. And it was a lot of fun. So it's a cool tool in that sense. But how can you use it then? And this is what I want to get. I want to make sure that you leave here saying, oh, wow, that's great. Not just, well, that's cool, but I want to make sure everybody has this understanding how to get it. So first of all, you create your play. So we're going to create Y cross. We're a big air raid team. And so, maybe one of my personal favorite full field reads. So we're going to be referencing cross quite a bit. But you can draw this thing. So just like any other deal, you're going to go ahead and draw your play. Then, as I talked about, you can animate the play. You can show when a quarterback needs to deliver a ball at a certain point in the timeline of the play clock. So, for example, us throwing the cross itself has to happen after 2.4 seconds into the play clock, because it's what we call a read route in our offense. It has to happen after he crosses the center line. This gives the quarterback some perspective on when he's throwing it. It gives the receiver some perspective on what he has to do to work to, quote, be open, whatever open is for that receiver. The next thing is visualization. So that app I just showed you, that drawing, I click a button down here in the corner, and it now becomes a 3D rendered Madden type view that you can change the camera to really whatever angle you desire. Here we are running routes on air, so our quarterbacks can visualize throwing their first read on Y cross. Then you can add a defense. So you can visualize that defense. So we're still running Y cross, but now what we're doing is we have a cloud structure to the boundary. Quarterback feels good with that safety slow off the hash that he can fit the ball in 1.8 seconds. Ball's out of hand, and we're hitting the cover 2 hole shot. The quarterback can sit here just as you are and visualize this. I don't know. We've just watched this play 10 times in the last few seconds here. And so just as you're watching this, a quarterback can sit there, any position. I'm just using the quarterback right now. But to be able to visualize against that defense, I think is an incredibly powerful tool. You can add notes and labels. We read Y cross as simple as left, middle, right. And so we added these labels in the middle of the field so that the quarterback sitting there with his phone, iPad, or computer can use this app and see left, middle, right. And he's going to have that drilled in his head. How do we read Y cross at West? Left, middle, right. And he can actually see left's cloudy, middle's cloudy. I'm getting off. I'm going to my right, my curl on the backside of crosser. So here's probably the hook of a lot of us tonight. You know, you saw Oculus 2 headset, affordable virtual realities here. An Oculus 2 is anywhere from $300. And before we even dive into the VR, everything you've seen up to now has been screen captures of phones and computers. Nothing has been paid for at all up to now. It's all just the kid can see everything you just saw on their phone. But VR is here, and it's affordable, and it's going to really change the game. Because when you put that headset on, you're on the practice field. I can't express it enough. It absolutely changed my whole relationship with this app when they came out with the Oculus 2 support. So it supports Oculus 2. It does support something called Google Cardboard, but I found that super frustrating, and the use and the logistics were why that tool to me didn't make any sense. The Oculus 2, 100% is fairly affordable for most football programs. It's about the cost of a helmet. And the way I see it, the potential for safety to safely practice things that you don't need to bang hats, it's well worth the cost of one helmet. And putting this headset on actually puts you in the field. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the app or into the headset. What it's going to be doing, it's going to be sending a signal to my phone. It's going to be an actual session with a quarterback, and he's going to be running Y cross, and he's wearing the headset, and I'm watching what he sees on my phone. So here he is going his left, middle, right. I had him kind of pointed out. He's looking left, middle, right. Now, what's really crazy, and this is why this app is so amazing, is so we're in a big enough space. The quarterback is physically moving. He's physically avoiding that 3-tech to the field that crashes the A-gap. He physically is moving to find throwing lanes to throw the ball to the curl route on the backside, which is always open on cross. It's a whole air raid thing. But the movement of the quarterback in a gym, in a large classroom, really, really cool to me. And when you're in the app, you think you're going to get hit. You have a little fight or flight. One super cool idea that one of my coaches came up with, our quarterback coach, said, well, what you can do is you can also go to the sideline as a coach. And so I'm training myself now as a coach. I'm looking at this cloud to the boundary, sky to the field structure of an even front, and I'm training my eyes on this is what it looks like. You know, if something's not right, it should be telling me what's up. So this is me now. I am in the headset right now, and I'm just watching a play from the sideline, just like it would be at practice. But I'm doing it with a designed defensive look that is exactly based on what we saw in scout film. And then how else can you use it? Your whole playbook can be here, and you can share them. You can share them with colleagues. You can download them. You can share them with your team. Your whole playbook can be here. So every single play. So what is the Go Army app? It functionally replaces, to me, any other app we're going to use to draw plays, and not just replaces. That's maybe not the right word. We can do screen grabs and exports where we can use the paper copies if we still want to create a paper playbook. What is the Go Army app? It's how kids process information now. And lastly, it's fun, and it's something they can explore. Go Army should be as common of teaching tool as Huddle, PowerPoint, Google Drive. Like these tools that we've been using, Go Army should be in that list of things that we should be using. and will be using. I firmly believe in the next season or two. I said 2 to 3 years. It could be less than that. In the next season or two, everybody's going to be on. Really, right now, specifically this app, because it's free and it's support for Oculus. Those two things make it the leader right here, right now. Will this be the app 5 years from now, 10 years from now? I can't speak that far. But for the next, let's go 3 to 4 seasons, it appears to be a dominant tool that you're going to want to start learning now to help your kids the best you possibly can. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. I showed you a bunch of the potential. I want to get into how the app is used. And there are so many videos. I don't want to get super bogged down on the really, really nitty gritty details of using this app. I want to have you be able to go turnkey, take off in your plane, and go start learning, go start flying, if you will. And so the going into this, there's a ton of references at the end of the PowerPoint or at the end of the slideshow today that you can click on those videos, and they might even be more in depth than what we get into today. My goal is to link the education piece, the teaching piece, your creation piece, the details of coaching piece all together so that you have a powerful tool. So step number 1 is get the app. It's available on the web browser. You can sign up for it there. iOS, Android, Windows Store, they're all there. There is, I don't believe the iOS app actually works on MacBook yet. Don't quote me on that. I use the app on my PC at home, and then whenever I'm using the laptop, I'll use the web browser. So most of the screenshots are actually from the web browser app, which is pretty cool. It's available here at goarmyedge.com/football. I'll share this link to this presentation with Mark, so you guys can all get on here. All these clicks are linkable, and you can go right to it. Once you have the app, you'll create an account, and then it just asks for your information, just like creating any account for any app. And then there's this unlock all your team's features. It does not come completely unlocked. This app is free, and the reason it's free is because it's a recruiting tool for the Army. And it opens up an opportunity for you at least to have a dialogue with your recruiter. I think I sent them the email, or I clicked the unlock, and I said, "Can I have full access?" And they gave it to me, and that's all it was. So it wasn't like the Army. It wasn't like I was going to boot camp the next day. All right, so you guys can just unlock that, and I would recommend doing that right off the top. The other thing I'd recommend is requesting VR. If you have a VR headset, specifically the Oculus 2, you go to your account settings, and there's this interested in football VR. This is new, so if you had been using the Go Army app up until I want to say like March of this year, this option wasn't there. The app on the Oculus is not on the Oculus Store. It is it's really still in beta version. It's really still being tested to some degree, so it's not available on the Oculus Store. You have to get a code from the Army, and then that email that they send you, it's real easy to walk through their email how to get the app. But basically, you enter a code. It's like a promo code on the Oculus Store, and then it gives you the app. But you can't just search Go Army Edge on the Oculus app. It won't get you anywhere. So sorry about that. An email will be sent to you giving a code and explaining how to download the VR app. And it's super easy. That was one of the easier parts once I did that. All right, so you've created this account. You're now going to get into actually making a playbook. And there's 2 types of playbooks to be aware of. You have your personal playbooks that go with you in your email account, regardless of what team you're on. And then you have your team account, which is shared with your players and your assistant coaches and whoever else you want. So that's cool. And then you create an actual team. So you create a team account, and you make your team, and they'll email you and they'll say, "Hey, congrats, coach, you got a team." You create a new playbook. There are example playbooks that they have. They have some cool tools on there. But really it's going to be you creating the plays is how you're going to get the most out of this app. It's you're right now, you're just learning to fly. We have not taken off yet. You got to learn how to turn the ignition on the fighter jet. So right now we all should have more or less an idea of how to create an account, verify to unlock, request the VR, get those team playbooks. And now let's get into the nuts and bolts of actually creating the plays. So when you create a play, you're going to start with personnel. There's all these personnel packages it comes loaded with. I don't really mess with this. Just be aware that this is important. You do want to make sure your personnel matches because some of their default stances and even their size of their little person is going to be based on the position that their personnel group says they are. So, for example, especially for the defensive side, a D lineman is going to look out of place if you accidentally go into like say you have an even front and you move the D lineman out. There's a linebacker. He'll look kind of weird. He'll be big and lumbering unless you have a really big D lineman out there. And then what you do is you can create your formations. I'd recommend this the first step if you're getting involved in this. Create your base formations. Move those. This is sped up a bit, but you guys can move your players around. Create your base formations. It's always centered up, which is kind of a pet peeve of mine. I'll get to that here in a second, but it is just what it is. And then you have a database of all your formations. So whenever you go to start a play, you have your formation. You select the formation you want to get into, and then you go from there. You're going to create and name your play. So there's like a new play. You click on that. And as of right now, when you create a new play, there are no folder functions. So what I say is name your plays like an MS-DOS file name. And God bless you if you know what MS-DOS is. But make sure that you're naming your play with every single detail. It should be long. It should be like an NFL-style play when you name this thing. So, for example, you can see me typing in blitz pickup versus an odd stack with I think I've typed in Rob and the backer are blitzing. So that is, I'm creating that whole thing. When you create the plays, you can pick not only the formation offensively, but you can choose the defensive formation as well. And you can also choose to have no defense or no offense and have, quote, on-air rep if there was some reason that you wanted to do that. Let's talk about the tools. So you've now got this play you're creating, and I'm going really fast. I understand that because I want to get your questions and your thoughts and kind of even brainstorm how we can best use this app. But anytime you have any questions, just let me know. Throw it in the chat. And like I said, I'll be monitoring that because I am going really fast here. But in-screen tools. So these are the two biggest tools you're going to want to be aware of as you are going through the app. The first of all, and this is all based in the web app on my laptop, and the interface is almost identical to the downloaded app on the computer, and I have not messed with making plays on my phone ever. So that would be a new experience. I've not made plays. I've always made plays on my computers. The first tab is editing tab, and this is so you can change between the different options of tools. So you can telestrate things, which is adding notes. You can edit the formation. You can change the possessions. The quarterback's going to throw it, pitch it, hand it off. You can draw motion. You can draw the routes of the players with that. The other tab is what they call contextual menu, which basically is if I select the quarterback, there's going to be certain things that only affect the quarterback. If I select the lineman, same there. If I select the path, the route path, the actual line on the screen, there's going to be things there. Whatever is selected, this tool in the bottom right is going to bring up all the options for that. So again, this one stays the same. It's your 5 main tools, and this tool changes for whatever you're selecting. So the first step in creating a play after you've created the formations is adjusting the formations. So down here, you'd set it to edit formation. And here's roughly what, 20% they say of the plays are run from a center of a field. I've heard like 18, Dub Maddox talks a ton about that if you read any of his stuff. Not a lot of plays in the, quote, middle of the field. And so I'm a big put it on a hash guy, which is, I think, a really important tool to be able to do. So here, you start the play. I get it out of the center of the field, and I go right to the hash. That's my first step. Then I draw my routes. The way you draw it is you select your little guy, right that, and just start dragging the mouse away. And it'll create lines. And you can actually create both curved and straight lines. So here I created a straight line and then went back in, selected that contextual menu for the Y, and I changed his line to curve. And now it's going to follow me. And so this is where, how good are you at dragging your mouse? You're going to find out really fast when you do the curved lines. The straight lines are straightforward, pun not intended. You can also change the movement and the speed of each route. And the way you would do that is you would just click on the actual line itself, and in the menu, it will give you some options. And so here are some different options it does. Let's start over here. This is this guy running full speed. Okay, there he is running forward full speed. This is the default for every player. You move a player, he's going to run full speed. I have this guy shuffling, same play, but he's shuffling half speed. And then I have our cornerback backpedaling at quarter speed. You can change the movement and the speed. This is the key to creating an effective full 22 teach tape. I mean, realistically, you want to do everything you can to time things up in a realistic fashion. You can totally draw, especially if you're drawing the defense, you can totally draw them messing up. You can draw them being extra right, if you will, cheating, going right to spots. I think it's super crucial as a coach and as a curator of a playbook to think about how fast is that player going to move to that spot. This is where where education in this realm is so crucial. Time-based, space-based, and 3D-based. This is something new, and we really want to dive into. And real quick, one side note on that, because I keep saying it's an important tool. Madden's been out for years. The biggest gripe about Madden is that it is fundamentally a game and it's meant to entertain. This is not a game. This is really a 3D rendering software. I mean, fundamentally, this is just you're making a video. You're making a movie, if you will. Now, you get to go into that movie with a headset. You get to go into that movie with a phone. You can share that movie easily once somebody logs into your team. But the decision-making and things that Madden has aren't what this app is totally designed for. Also, this app can allow you to make anything, and we'll get into that shortly here, and that's where it has a huge advantage over other Maddens and stuff like that. So drills are how you can share your playlist. This is all the plays put together, and you can put notes in there. So here we go. We have this is like fast forwarded, but you can put as many drills on here as you want. So you can have 20 plays or whatever in your drills, have notes. You can have questions before the play. I talk the running backs. This is a banger, a bounce read. We'll get into that in a minute here. But the drills are how you would put together a actual playlist. All right, so got started up. We've created a play. Let's get into some of the what I'm calling advanced, because educationally, I think this is where it gets a little advanced. So there's this thing called Telestrate. It's down here under your main tool. And if you can go and you can draw things. Here's just like on a chalkboard. And when you go into the 3D world, there it is. It's on the field, drawn onto the field. That's a really, really powerful tool. I would say this almost gets rid of the chalkboard to some degree. You put this on a TV, you put this on a projector. And what's really cool is that when you click that 3D to 2D button, the kids are now seeing both worlds. They're connecting us with our restaurant napkins and our plays and our diagrams and the football nerd that we all have inside of us. They're connecting with a living, breathing 3D world with a click of a button. That's super big because it makes them better at reading your diagrams, our diagrams, and it makes them more educated at the same time. It's like a double bounce on a trampoline almost. It's got a power of two, exponential. You can put words on the screen. Here I just added the word pre-snap read, and you can add a background to it. It kind of floats. You can make it snap to the field too. I have it floating there for that shot. And then you can draw like areas on the field that you want to have highlighted, so that like, hey, it's a middle of the field open coverage. You can draw that box on the screen, and that will all go with them. So that Telestration is a pretty cool advanced tool. And here you have, again, going back to what it looks like earlier, run and Y cross, left, middle, right. Quarterback can see all that. Go from there. You can create labels and numbers of players. So down in the contextual, once I've selected that player, I'm going to change that guy's, I'm changing my, it should be a Z receiver, got to get that right. I'm changing his number to 12, and then I can turn that label on and off. So I want to see all the labels of the receivers, so I can see that. Now, one thing I've kind of toyed around with is maybe instead of putting receiver names on my labels, putting the number of the progression they are. So in this case, he would be a 3 because he's going to run the curl. The X on the far left is going to, if we're still running cross, the X on the far left would be a 1. The Y running the Y cross would be a 2. And you can actually have the drawings, the lines of the play actually on the field itself as well. One more advanced feature to go into is the custom uniforms. This to me is super cool, and this is when you have to unlock it. It does not come with this ability right away. You have to have that recruiter unlock it. But once you do, you can set your uniforms to look exactly like your opponent. Now, it's not the highest level of graphic quality, I'll admit that. But when you're looking at this thing in a phone or an iPad or even in the VR itself, you're not thinking, oh, wow, it's really poor quality. I've actually had some students comment on it in the past, but they've done a good job to bring the quality of the graphics up to a certain level. And adding color to visualization is like mental steroids for those visual processors. It just absolutely fires up the brain, and they are now seeing things and processing information in a way that is incredibly powerful for them. And it sticks in there. So what I want to do is go through ways we've used it in the past. Obviously, the VR officially came out, I want to say in March. So we haven't used the VR in season. We have used it in some test sessions, the actual Oculus. We have used it in some test sessions over the past 2-3 weeks. And so what I want to do is go over things we've done in the past and kind of talk about VR. Hey, you know what? You don't have the VR headset? Doesn't matter. You can do almost all of this exactly with just a computer. Maybe an HDMI cable would be nice, and a television. I mean, really, you can get almost the entire benefit. You add in the VR, you kick the door down as far as how kids learn. So let's dive into it. Quarterbacks. I've already shown it a bunch. The quarterback progression, throwing lanes. You can absolutely put a VR headset on these kids. You don't even need to be VR. They can be looking at this exact play on their phone from above, like a Madden play. And it can be run exactly with the details of your offense. That's super crucial. And by the way, if you're out there running triple option or wing T, Madden ain't going to cut it for you anyway because it's not on there necessarily. Yes, they have read option now. I do get that. Running backs, reads. So here we're seeing 2 reads. We're running Oregon, which is West's outside zone play. So we see the tackle capture the D end and kick out the D end. So there he kicks, here he captures. I can have a running back sit here and watch the tackle's butt over and over and over again. I can pause it right as that decision by the tackle has been made. My running back can start to work on his vision without taking a single live rep with his feet, with his legs. He can be sitting in a room. We can move the camera around so he can get a better nuance, a better angle. He can put the VR headset on. All those things are possible. The running back is now making full speed reads. You just have them talk it out loud. Bang it. Bounce it. Just like that. Back into the VR headset. You can coach from the VR headset too. This is what this was. I was actually coaching one of our receivers. We were talking about how to stem a DB. So here's some type of zone coverage, some type of sky coverage where the whole player attacks the flats really fast. And so the Y is attacking that hip as it disappears because here comes what we call the interceptor. The Mike linebacker is when we're running stick. So when that whole player goes away, the slot receiver widens with him, and I can sit there and I can show him. I could draw that, and I could maybe have a kid demo it, but they're seeing this 50 times on repeat in a span of the 30 seconds that I'm talking about it. They're seeing this over and over and over, the repetition. So when we go out to the field, they've already visually processed the hip of that guy. It goes away, I'm chasing it, and there you go. O-line blitz pickup. We use this. We've been using this now for a little bit. We put it up on a whiteboard. We have our whole O-line stand in their positions just off the whiteboard with a projector on it. We now have a big TV. It's the same idea. And we have our O-line work through their vertical set rules. Like I said, we're an air raid team. We have them work through their vertical set rules, and we have them talk out who picks up who. We'll just run it just like this. And so, like, let's say I'm the right tackle. My job is to block the 4 technique until he's no longer a 4 technique. And then I need to pick up the C gap. So in this look, you can see the tackle has an inside rush by the DN, and then the Rob backer is the C gap. So I'm talking to that tackle, hey, who am I blocking now? He's saying Rob. If he's not saying Rob right away, there's an issue. And we can address that. We can work, it can adjust and assess because we're teachers. Here's another same play, slightly different uniforms. I'm talking about the tackle. And now I'm seeing, because I'm putting it into his perspective, into the student's world, we're assigning meaning to what's happening right now. So he's getting that benefit there. Linebacker key reads. If you play a wing T team, you certainly know that they're very difficult to prepare against. This looks like, for most kids, just a bunch of spaghetti spilled onto a play card. They have no idea what this is. Just lines and craziness. You know what's even wilder is we give study sheets to kids when we play like wing Ts that would look like this, and then this is what they see. And this looks like chaos as well, which is why the wing T is such a prolific running system with the deception, the angles it creates. And so even just looking at this right away, especially if you're not a linebacker or a defensive guy, it looks kind of wild. But you can look right now, hey, we're going to train the linebackers to look at their guard. Okay, so let's just all watch the right guard. Notice the right guard, our right. He pulls, there you go. So I have a feeling if he pulls and I'm feeling this guard down block, I'm now visualizing what this looks like. This, to me, is probably the most powerful aspect of the app. To go against teams that use deception, that use gap scheme type things, like we play a power tee. There's a wing tee. There's actually a couple wing tees in state. They can sit there and watch trap. We've watched it 20 times just now. So going back and forth on that. DB pattern rec. We're a zone match team, quarter match, and so being able to start pattern recognizing is vital. So here it is. We were huge night and day difference. We went against an air raid team similar to us, but ran different patterns. And we made the arrogant mistake of trying to use our offense exclusively in like Skelly and just to kind of really work on our guys to get better quote at their rules. What we discovered is, hey, you got to be more specific. And so there were some nuances that we didn't get in practice. And so we went back to the drawing board. We put this app together. We put the plays of our team we're going to play into the app. We put the TV up. And what we did, just like the O-line, we had the corner, the free, and what we call the jack. We had them hanging out all together in front of the TV, making their steps, their reads, watching the release of these players. And again, here's the same exact play, but now we're just into VR. And so we're watching this post slant on the backside of this bootleg that a really good team up here runs in Alaska. And lastly, one of the cool applications is Scout Team. It makes Scout Team fun. How many have tried to run a Scout Team for the wing T? It's not easy if you don't run the wing T. And so I could sit here and I can talk about a play. I could, we could point out one guy, maybe number 20, the wing back here, and hey, this is what you're going to run. This is our second man sweep play, is what we call it. And that's your path. Make your read out here. Let's go. And you talk to the center, hey, or the guards, hey, you're going to pull, you're going to wrap. So you can show them in that. So those are different ways that you can use this in the classroom. In small groups, what do you need? An iPhone. That's it. I mean, realistically, if you've done the work to create the plays, you just need a phone, maybe an iPad. That's by itself, and you can access this and watch it sitting down with 2-3 players. Student can do it themselves. A medium to large group, I would recommend having a computer attached to a TV over HDMI or a projector. And then if you're going to do the virtual reality, if it's solo, if the kid's just working it themselves, that's cool. But if you want to actually instruct and help them and not let them get lost, they will get lost in the flash, the hook. They'll get lost in the hook. We need to make sure that they know why they're there. And after you use it a little bit, you quickly get into like, oh, this is a great tool. It's not just, I'm not just playing around. I'm actually learning something from it. But that takes a minute for the brain to switch over from this is a video game to, oh, this is teaching me what I'm going to see in 15 minutes now before practice or before kickoff. And in order to do that, you need to cast to a phone or a computer on a television. We're going to get into a little bit more of the virtual reality in the next slide. And exploration. I talk about education. I took 0 F-14 classes in middle school. Nobody taught me how to fly an F-14. They should have. That should be a required education for 6th grade boys. But man, I knew at the time, like I could tell you about the payloads and how much fuel it burned when it was going full afterburners. And I could tell you about the wings and how they'd sweep back when an afterburner and a certain speed, blah, da, 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 da. I was all about it. I loved it because that movie got the hook, and then I went and explored. So if we as coaches can find that power to grab the hook of virtual reality, of talking in their quote language, pretty cool deal. They're going to go explore. Other thoughts. You can have your athletes learn their teammates' jobs. For example, have the receiver watch through the QB's eyes. Have the QB watch through the receiver's eyes. Again, don't need the VR headset. You can do that on the phone, but have them get that perspective of what they should be seeing. It helps. Athletes get to learn their opponent. We just showed that with the scout team. It can make scout team practices great fun. And then we showed it way back. You practice you. You know, how are you getting information if you're a sideline play caller? Like, how do you know that a shape of a defense, oh man, you know, I've been seeing Sky to the field all game long, and now they're bringing some type of fire zone. It looks different. And how does it look different? Because I've actually been watching this over and over and over of what their base look had been. It helps you, once you have a foundation of what your eyes should be looking at, it's amazing what you can pick up. Considerations for VR. If you want to dive into the VR stuff, and I recommend you highly do. An Oculus 2 is like $299. I'd avoid the Google Cardboard setup. It'd be frustrating. All you need technically is a phone for that. But with the price of the Oculus 2 and the ease of use, it's night and day difference. We never used the cardboard. We tried it one year, and it was very middling results, to be sure. If you're going to use the Oculus, you're going to need a smartphone with the app. It is connected to a Facebook account. So, I mean, that's something you have to consider. Maybe you have to make a team Facebook or something like that. You don't have to pay anything for that account, but you do need to have some type of Facebook account. A smart TV works really, really well. And in fact, what I found, and everything has to be on the same network. So you do have to be careful about school district and their firewalls and how they set up their networks. Sometimes it won't work, and you'll bang your head on this. The best way, and this is what I'd recommend if you go out in the field. If you go on the field with this thing, and I think you're not supposed to be outside of the VR headset. I haven't done one or the other. But if let's say we go to the gym and the internet's poor in the gym, have a coach. If they have a coach with a hotspot, create a hotspot, put the headset on the hotspot, put the iPad with the Oculus app on the hotspot, and now you're good to go. That's a kind of a recommendation. That's kind of next level if you can't get the Oculus to connect with the phone. And then obviously the Go Army code, which you should start with. Considerations for VR. If you select the person in VR and you become them, you will get motion sick. It is not a pleasant experience. So don't actually select a person. And in fact, if we go back to some previous slides I did where the quarterback was going through his progression, you can take different elements of the players off. So I took the quarterback completely out of the screen for the quarterback dropbacks, because if you accidentally select that guy, you start moving with him and you do get a little motion sick. So that is something to consider. So don't select a player. Don't put your cursor on a player. Either delete them and see how the defense moves with the example of a quarterback. Or when that one, when I was coaching the Y to stem the inside hip of the whole player, you can absolutely just stand right behind him like you would on a practice field. Work in a space with no obstacles. A gym would be perfect. I really recommend if you can get an internet connection in a gym, This is, you stand in the middle of the gym, clear the area, and then quarterbacks can work through within the pocket. You can have DBs work their first steps. And as long as they're in an open area, they can kind of open it up and run it. It actually kind of works. It's pretty amazing when you're in it and you're moving around, you're on that field. It's something else. And maybe the most important one, as you get better at this, is an environment of trust. Because that person is completely dependent upon having that headset in. So if you have a team that screws around, and all it takes is one guy to trip a dude, de-pants a dude, just do something that's kind of humiliating with the guy in the headset, and you've lost all trust. And that tool just isn't as powerful, and you're gonna have to rebuild that trust. So that's something to consider with the VR. So kind of a picture of aviation here. This is a flying machine made 18, 19 something. It didn't work. All right. We've all been here. This is we've all created these ideas and these lesson plans and these plays or whatever, and they don't work. And then this is maybe the greatest fighter plane ever made. It's the F-22. There's just nothing like it in the world. It's just unbelievable. One of the greatest pieces of aviation equipment ever assembled. We're not there yet. We're in the educational metaphor we're casting. We're here. We're the Wright brothers. We're taking off with this technology. And the reason we're taking off and not fully flying is because it's just now being opened up so that I can get a headset on and teach my kid for $300. Before this, it was you had to spend thousands of dollars and have specific proprietary software and systems that only a select few ever got access to. NFL, the big schools, and NCAA. But now the Army, as a recruiting tool, has opened this up for everybody. We're at the right flyers. I showed you some ways that we're getting off the ground at West. But I'm certain that you all have your own thoughts and ideas, and hopefully you saw this and you're like, whoa, I bet if I did that with that, it could be really powerful. That's how we get to here. And that's the goal, is to push the needle towards the F-22 as we move through the progression of our ideas and how we do things. So barriers to successful use of this tool, because this tool will exist and some people aren't going to use it. Some people just say I'm not going to do it. I would just say you're missing out on being the very best connector and teacher of young men if you're not using this tool. But barriers to successful use of it: awareness, we all know about it now. Affordability, it's free. Use and logistics, we covered here briefly, and I'll give you many more resources here in a second. And then mastery is all of us working together to find a way to make this tool that makes the game safer. You're not burning legs with kids. A kid can go put a headset on in the locker room after practice. You don't need to keep them on the field to run that route 30 times so the quarterback can get his timing down. There's ways to do this stuff. And so the mastery level is where we want to get to. And there's going to be a 2 to 3 year window. People on this right now are going to see their players have a great amount of recognition, especially at the high school level, where you have sometimes a player who has never played high school football or football of any sort, and within 1 to 3 years is a starting varsity football player at a high level of football. This has an opportunity to be an advantage for those schools who are converting those basketball players to a DB, who are getting kids from the track team to come out who have never played ball before. There's going to be an advantage to get those kids on the field. Your really good players are going to be really good players. And they stand a lot to benefit from this. But there's going to be an advantage for coaches that are in on this now. So I've talked a lot. That's what I got. And any questions, thoughts, whatever, I'm an open book because I'm learning it right with you guys.
Can you add film like Huddle, like Huddle film or plays, on top of that too?
You can't add film there. What I would do is I'd go the other direction. We're going to make the plays on VR, screen record them, and put them on Huddle. So now, with that said, that assumes that the kid has Huddle access and stuff. So that'd be an advanced level. But if you have like your playbook, we have our whole video playbook on Huddle. We'll go through and we will create VR cut-ups for our defensive fronts, our defensive coverages, how we play. When we go to a scout film against a wing T team, there'll be a whole VR list of specifically like for the linebackers. For the quarterbacks, we'll have maybe one like way up in the sky view for, let's use cross for an example, and then we'll get right down on the field. Because a quarterback, I mean, how different can a drawing on a sheet of paper be for a quarterback than that first moment the ball is in the air from the center, and there are at least 4, maybe 5, sometimes 6 dudes that want to knock that kid down. That world changes in a very, very quickly. So for me, we almost teach more from this, and then we go into film as like using film as like case study, if you will. Hey, so this is what has happened in the past with this play. And I'm not sure that really totally answered your question, but you cannot put video into Army, but you can take Army video and put it into Huddle.
If I'm using the VR and I'm pass blocking, can I move my feet and will it cover up the D lineman? Will it cover and follow him?
So yes, so to a degree, you still draw the D lineman's path. So, and again, this is where being in an open area of trust and safety is important, but you can absolutely have a lineman pass set. You have to, there'll be some experimentation as far as how fast you make your D lineman. I learned that I can make the D lineman's like first step like full speed, but then I slow it down to quarter speed and just have them slowly kind of trudge at the quarterback. And then I make our O lineman pass set full speed and then stay in there pass blocking, which is one of the movement types, at like quarter speed. So what ends up happening is I've created a video, a CGI video of a quick line rush and that slowly moves in some respects like an actual pocket would behave. So from an O-line perspective, what I've discovered right now, best use of this is in a big space. I can actually front rec is by far the best way to do front rec I've ever seen. You can put your headset on, move the camera directly next to the guard so you can be standing in the A gap, and you can just have one kid just be like even, odd, stack, bear, odd right, whatever you want to call it. And he's looking at the fronts. It's not a drawing on a paper, and it's a little bit better than the drawing on the projection on the television screen. It's a little bit better than that, although the projection on the screen has tremendous power. Anybody else with some questions?
Coach Davis, I don't know if you mentioned that I've kind of messed around with this technology some. We haven't implemented it at my school yet, but I'm hoping to this next year. Did you, I guess, make reference to, and do you guys use delayed time for the defense when you guys are doing your playbook design and stuff?
Great point. I probably should have brought that up. Absolutely. You have to, so on going back, and I'm mess some things up here. I'm gonna go to when creating the actual play and drawing the routes, you can slideshow. You see the timeline in the bottom of the screen. You can drag that, as you mentioned, to a specific time. So, like, for example, the Mike linebacker needs to get his keys before he moves anywhere. If I just draw him going straight out to cover the stick route on stick, he'll cover it every single time. There's a delayed moment where he's like, oh, now versus blitzes and stuff like that, as soon as the ball snapped, that guy's moving. But you can absolutely put when somebody makes a move, especially on the defensive side of the ball, by delaying them down here, and it makes it more realistic. And again, I think it's a combination of that delayed route you've drawn, combined with the speed and the movement type of what you assign that route. And by the end of this thing, you have something that will most translate for whatever position you're looking at. But to answer your question, Coach, yeah, that's super important and great catch. I should have talked about that. That's a really important one.
With what you guys use with this technology, what would you say the average time is that you put toward it per week when it comes to, you have an opponent coming up? Maybe I was wondering, if you just talk a little bit about like how much time and how in depth you get when you're putting together stuff for an opponent that you're going to play in the upcoming week.
Great question. So it goes back to the fighter pilot scope question. Are we learning 4 techniques or are we learning 1 today? And what we try to do is that we would never make any VR session more than 15 minutes. So 15 minutes tops. And then what we would do is we'd have it on TV. We'd have everybody in the room watching the screen while one kid would either be in the VR. And that's the newest thing we've done. Because again, the VR headset's a little newer. But as far as the putting DBs on a screen and having them, we'd have the DBs. We moved all the desks out of my classroom or to the edges of my classroom, put the offense's plays up, and then those DBs drop back. And we just did that for, we started at the beginning of the week with the base rules. And by Wednesday, we had pretty much the entire offensive playbook. So that by Wednesday, the kids had seen pretty much every basic concept, really every concept. And I would say 15 minutes tops. I think that's that scope question. If you expand your scope more than that, you start to lose them, just like you lose anybody on Huddle or whatever technology. Teachers in the classroom right now are because of COVID have learned a lot, and the classroom is a different place than it was. Our kids are being infotained at a higher level. They're not at all being trained to look at a whiteboard. So, or even to watch the VR stuff for more than 15, 20 minutes. Because the classroom really is these snippets of education coming out of them in the form of TED Talks or short snippets, and they move on to the next thing. Well, as football coaches, we at least need to recognize that's where education's at, and to see these tremendously innovative things that the classroom's doing. So, long-winded answer, 15 minutes tops. On our end as coaches, we are, I'd say, a lot more. But once you get used to it, it takes, for me to draw, like if I were to draw a cross, like right now, it'd probably do in like 15 seconds. If I were to draw a defense to it, it'd take me longer based on the timing of it. So my end, the front end, and this is what I'm going to be working on quite a bit this summer, creating a more extensive playbook versus specific different looks that we will see at West. So my end, a little bit more. With them, 15 minutes in person.
And you can front load a lot of your learning with what you're saying in terms of creating stuff over the summer so that it's ready for them come fall or whatever. Excuse me. And again, this kind of goes back, kind of piggybacking off the question I just asked. As you guys are scouting, obviously you're not going to scout every single little thing about the team you're playing. What are you guys looking for? Is there like a couple of key concepts you guys are looking for, maybe depending on the team style and whatever, like couple runs, couple passes, like what are you guys looking to basically show your players specifically saying, hey, we want to make sure we get this, we see this so we can stop it, if that makes sense?
Totally. It goes, kind of had that slide about ancient tools and wisdom. I mean, good coaches have really narrowed down like, hey, these are the things we got to stop, and coaches have been doing that and will continue to do that for years. To have this and be like, this is what it looks like, is pretty powerful. So, yes, we do. Just like we would in any other system or using any other tool, we will set up our guys to be like, and again, it's opponent specific. So let's say we're playing obviously we're not going to be watching 30 stack film against a team that never gets in, gives us a nose guard or gets in an odd look. We'll watch specifically for what that team or problem area. And then when it comes to the VR itself, because again, the headset's going to be a new thing for us this year. We have all sorts of ideas, have it at halftime, have a headset at halftime, and have one of our assistant coaches who's quick with it draw up exactly what the quarterback, how he messed up, especially combined with the huddle sideline technology. There's some ideas like that. But I think what it really boils down to is, can you teach that, like, hey, these are the three things defensively you got to stop. And then offensively, what are the problem areas? So if I have a kid, again, who's not stemming a DB the proper way, a quarterback who's struggling with a read, a quarterback who's struggling with throwing lanes, 7-on-7 is a great tool, but I've always believed that 7-on-7 needs assistance with bags or something in the quarterback's vision, because the quarterback isn't just going to go out there and not have a vision issue. And I think, to me, that probably is the most important thing for a lot, because kids don't really see over a line, they see through a line. And so this gives them that opportunity. And I would say pick 3 fronts and 3 blitzes, something like that, and then work those quite a bit. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, you pick the small, really important things to hammer and you go after them.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, last thing I want to leave you guys with is the resources, and I'll make sure that Mark has this deal, this whole presentation that you guys can see, so you could go over it step by step. Again, this information's out there. Here are 2 really, really good, and actually 3 really, really good videos I had watched before. They're great. I think they're awesome. They get into the nuts and bolts. Maybe they bring up something I missed. I am not an expert. I've just been using it for a little bit. I just love tearing stuff apart. And so one thing I am excited about, I don't know how good it's going to be. So if you do play the video games, that Madden, EA Sports has a stranglehold on the NFL. Can't produce NFL content, simulation content without EA Sports. Technically, VR content is not considered that. So there's a new game coming out. I have no idea. It might be a total flop and awful, but it's called NFL Pro Era. And of course, it froze my computer. There we go. And so in NFL Pro Era, it's going to be this new game where you are the quarterback. And you can also catch some passes and stuff like that. So my question is going to be, on this new game, this NFL Pro Era, are you able to make decisions? Because that's one thing you can't do in Go Army. You can't make decisions for the quarterback to throw. You can visualize. So if we're running stick, you can draw the ball being thrown at the appropriate time. Again, time and space is what this app really is giving us. So will this new game coming out this fall, will it give you an opportunity to go through an arm motion and throw a ball to a receiver at a specific time that's tied maybe to your footwork? Maybe. Or will it just be a bust? It might be that too. But I have been tracking that. So that's something to kind of keep in your mind. If you get one of these, I think it could be pretty cool. And then if you get a chance, take a quiz. I'll take a look at it here, give you guys an opportunity to, and then make sure you put some way I can get a hold of you on that quiz. I ask for your email or phone. I'm not giving that to anybody. You're not on any mailing list. I just again, I want to be a teacher and not a presenter. And so I want to make sure that I can see, like, all right, what went well tonight, what didn't, how can we get better? Because I want you to be able to take this technology and go run with it and do some special things with your kids in your community.
Any other questions or anything for Coach Davis?
Hey, Coach, Mike Kahale from Molokai High School. Hey, thanks for your presentation. I stumbled across this app a couple of months ago, just like football coaches posting stuff on Twitter and stuff, and I tried to fool around with it, but I was having issues. Like it seemed like I was like at a dial-up speed and I couldn't get things to load, and it just became very clunky. And I heard you mention something about maybe because I'm using a MacBook Pro, and I'm wondering if the iOS or the MacBook might be causing an issue. If you
I
knew.
I would say it definitely could be. The app on the computer is like seamless. Like my computer runs it just perfect. The app on the phone and on the iPads work seamless. They work really, really well. So when I'm showing kids video, if at all possible, I use the phone and the iPad. My computer seems to run fine when I'm just drawing stuff. There are graphic options of high quality and low quality. So maybe change it to low quality. That could be something that helps you out.
Okay.
And it could just be hardware issues too. So the most unstable of the operating systems that I've come across using this app is the browser on Mac. It's not, and this whole presentation was made on it. Like I made it on this computer, on my work computer here, which is a Mac. So it worked on that, but even then, it still gets funky sometimes and slows down. So I just I make sure nothing else is running on my computer. And I lower the quality, and it's been fine for me. I would say the best platform I've used is the PC downloadable app. That's it rips. It's pretty good on that.
Right on. Thank you.
Welcome.
Coach Chad, you got any questions? Or Lewis? Coach Lewis?
Nope, nothing.
All right. Well, Coach Davis, appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm gonna have to try this on my phone. I want to invite you guys. Right now, we do not have next Monday filled, but we do have May 9th filled at 4 p.m. We have Coach Darren Jackson from Sterling College. He's going to talk about defending RPOs and then also running a bear front, which is, that's a tough alignment to run zone against. So you guys are welcome to come. Let me know, DM me or send me a message, and we'll send out a link the day of. So the next time, unless we get somebody to fill, will be May 9th at 4 p.m. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys coming. And once we get this recording, then if you want, we can share it with you. So thanks, Coach Davis.
Thank you, guys. God bless everybody.
God bless. Take care.
Appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.